The Middle East is on the brink of total collapse, and Iran's greatest strategic partner is nowhere to be found. For years, the world watched Beijing and Tehran sign billion-dollar deals, but as the first missiles struck, China didn't move a single soldier. Is this a betrayal of a 25-year alliance, or is it a calculated move from the oldest playbook in history? China didn't get to be a superpower by fighting other people's wars. While Iran burns, Beijing is playing a game that goes back centuries. Sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight.
For years, the world has been told that a new axis of power was forming. In 2021, China and Iran signed a massive 25-year, $400 billion strategic agreement. Headlines screamed that Beijing was finally challenging American dominance in the Middle East. But on February 28, 2026, when U.S. and Israeli forces launched Operation Epic Fury, that $400 billion alliance looked more like a $400 billion receipt. As missiles rained down on Tehran and Isfahan, the Great Dragon didn't roar, it issued a press release. The first reason for this silence is simple. China does not have allies. In Western politics, an ally is someone you die for. But in Beijing's playbook, they only have partners. Whether it's the 2016 Comprehensive Strategic Partnership or the recent BRICS expansion, China's agreements are built on trade, not tanks. There is no Article 5 for China. There is no legal clause that forces a Chinese soldier to bleed for an Iranian Ayatollah. To China, Iran is a gas station and a construction site, not a brother in arms. But wait, doesn't China need Iran for its oil? Yes, China buys nearly 80% of Iran's oil exports. You'd think they would fight to protect their gas tank, right? Wrong. China is playing a much colder game. They know that no matter who sits in Tehran, whether it's the current regime or a new government, they will still need to sell oil, and China will still be the only one with the cash to buy it. By staying out of the war, China ensures that when the smoke clears, they are the only ones left with a clean checkbook to rebuild the ruins.
This isn't just modern greed. It's a page taken straight from their ancient history. For centuries, Chinese emperors followed a strategy called watching the fire from the opposite bank. It means letting your enemies, the U.S., and your troublesome neighbors, Iran, exhaust themselves in a fight. While Washington spends trillions on another Middle Eastern war, Beijing stays home, grows its economy, and waits. While the world expected a World War III intervention, China gave Iran something much cheaper: copy-paste diplomacy. The official statements from Beijing in 2026 are almost identical to the ones they released during the 12-day war in 2025. They express deep concern and call for restraint. It's the geopolitical equivalent of thoughts and prayers. China isn't staying out because they are weak. They are staying out because they are winning. Every missile the U.S. fires in Iran is a missile that isn't pointing at Taiwan. Every dollar the U.S. spends in the Middle East is a dollar they aren't spending on the Pacific. China isn't losing an ally. They are watching their biggest rival get stuck in the sand for the third time this century.
If China isn't sending troops, why are they still being called Iran's greatest ally during this war? The truth is, Beijing is fighting a war that isn't fought with bullets, but with bites, beams, and barrels. While the U.S. and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury on February 28, 2026, China was busy deploying what experts call the invisible shield. First, let's talk about the digital fortress. In the months leading up to the current strikes, China began a massive project to replace Western software in Iran with secure, closed Chinese systems. Why? Because they knew that when the war started, the CIA and Mossad would try to shut down Iran's power grids and command centers via cyber attacks. By giving Iran Chinese-made digital sovereignty, Beijing is essentially trying to make the Iranian regime unhackable. They aren't firing missiles. They are building the firewall that keeps the missiles from being redirected. Then there are the eyes in the sky. China currently has over 500 satellites in orbit. Intelligence reports from just a few days ago suggest that China is sharing real-time satellite data with the Iranian military. This allows Iran to track U.S. carrier movements in the Persian Gulf and predict where the next airstrike might come from. China even moved its most advanced spy ship, the Liaowang-1, into the region. It's a look-but-don't-touch strategy. They are giving Iran the eyes to fight, but they aren't lending them the fist. But the biggest mystery is the oil trap. Every analyst expected China to intervene to save their energy supply. After all, they buy 80% of Iran's oil. But China has spent the last year stockpiling strategic petroleum reserves at record levels. They have enough oil stored to keep their economy running for months without a single drop from the Middle East. This gives Beijing a terrifying level of leverage. They can sit back and watch the U.S. get bogged down in a long, expensive war that drives up global oil prices. Higher oil prices hurt the U.S. and Europe, but China, with its massive cheap reserves and its growing fleet of electric vehicles, is insulated.
In the 1400s, the Chinese admiral Zheng He sailed his treasure fleet to the Persian Gulf, not to conquer, but to establish a trade network that reached all the way to Africa. Today, China is following that same ancient blueprint. They aren't interested in the glory of winning a war in the desert. They are interested in being the only superpower left standing when everyone else is bankrupt and exhausted. China's refusal to interfere isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of a new type of warfare. They are letting Iran be the shield that wears down the American sword. As the dust settles from the strikes of early March 2026, the world is left asking, was China's silence a sign of weakness or the ultimate display of power? In the high-stakes game of geopolitics, the winner isn't always the one with the loudest guns. It's the one who stays standing when everyone else has run out of breath. The end game for Beijing is simple: strategic displacement. China is watching the United States and Israel commit massive military resources to Operation Epic Fury. Every carrier group moved to the Persian Gulf is one less carrier group patrolling the Taiwan Strait. Every billion-dollar interceptor missile fired over Tehran is $1 billion drained from the American taxpayer. China isn't losing an ally. They are letting their biggest rival get dragged back into the Middle East graveyard for the third time in 20 years. But what happens to the China-Iran relationship now? Many believe Iran will feel betrayed, but look closer at the Look East policy. Despite the lack of Chinese boots on the ground, Tehran has no other choice. With the West pushing for regime change and the death of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei creating a leadership void, China remains the only global power willing to buy Iranian oil and provide the digital sovereignty needed to keep a new government from being hacked into oblivion.
China's non-interference isn't a bug in their system, it's a feature. By not picking a side, they have positioned themselves as the only neutral giant left. When the shooting stops, who do you think will get the contracts to rebuild Iran's shattered infrastructure? Who will negotiate the new oil deals? It won't be the ones who dropped the bombs. It will be the ones who waited patiently on the sidelines with a checkbook in hand. This is the New World Order, a world where China provides the invisible shield of technology and satellite data, but refuses to spill a single drop of Chinese blood for a foreign cause. They are proving that in 2026, you don't need to win a war to win the future. You just need to be the last one left with a functioning economy. The world is changing faster than the headlines can keep up. From the silent moves in Beijing to the shifting sands of the Middle East, we are witnessing a masterclass in global strategy. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and understand the real moves behind the propaganda, you need to be part of this community. We are going to keep digging deep into China's playbook and how their calculated silence is reshaping our world. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Don't miss our next deep dive into the hidden deals that are happening while the world is distracted by war.